Welcome to Bedtime Yoga. This is a really chill, mat-based yoga practice intended for winding down at the end of the day and especially before bed. If you have blocks, that'll be a handy thing to have nearby. And if you have a bolster, that might be a nice thing to use. If you don't have a bolster, you can also roll up a towel and that can work as well. The other thing that might be useful is having a blanket to roll up. I can use my shawl for demonstration purposes. And we're going to start this practice seated. So I'm going to sit up on my bolster. You can sit up on your block or bolster or rolled up towel. And then I'm going to take a blanket, or in my case a shawl, and I'm going to kind of wrap it around my knees to give them a bit of support. It's almost like making a circular nest for yourself so your legs can really relax and feel supported. We'll anchor our weight down into our sitting bones, feeling heavy in the legs, and then inhale, growing up tall through the spine, length through the back of the neck. Roll our shoulders down and back. And we'll do a little breath with movement here. So breathing into the belly, letting the belly expand with each inhale, exhaling, and then gently drawing the belly in at the end of each exhale to make room for the next breath. We'll bring some movement into this breath. We'll start with fingers out to the sides, and then we'll inhale, arms draw up over the head, and then exhale, timing up the speed of the movement with the speed of your own breath. Inhale, drawing up. Exhale, drawing back down. A little different this time. We'll inhale, drawing all the way up to center, and then as we exhale, we'll rotate a little bit to the right, touching the ground in front of and behind us, and then inhale, coming back to center, exhale, coming down to the other side. Inhale back to center. We'll do this one more time on each side, moving at the speed of your own breath, slow and easy. Inhale, come back to center. We'll take another deep inhale here. And then with an exhale, we'll drop our right arm down, reaching over with the left arm. We'll take another breath here, giving the ribs a chance to expand. Next inhale brings us all the way up. And exhale over to the other side and taking a breath in this side bend to let our ribs expand like an accordion. Inhale all the way back up. Take one more on each side. Anchoring down through the hips. Letting the ribs grow up from the strong rooted hips. Keeping the hips heavy. The breath inflates the ribs and the lungs. And then inhale all the way back to center. We can bring our hands together for one more inhale. As we exhale, palms draw down in front of the chest. From here, we'll take a Upavishta Konasana, or a wide-legged angle. So you can stay up on your block, stay up on your bolster. That's kind of a nice thing to do when we're stretching the legs. Helps our legs feel a little more supported. And then I'm going to take a block, just let it rest in front of me. So rooting down into the sitting bones, drawing up tall through the spine, and then keeping the spine nice and long. Bringing my weight onto the block, starting to lean forward slightly. drawing back slightly on the toes. And then whenever you feel like it's a comfortable amount of stretch, a nice opening for the hips, stay in that spot and breathe into it. We know it's not about the depth of the pose, but more about inquiring about how the body is doing today, how we're feeling, getting in tune with our breath. Maybe that after a few breaths you find you can move a little bit deeper. If so, that's fine, but it's not a requirement. And it's not even the goal. We're just enjoying this opportunity to open up the hips, tune into the breath. When that feels like enough, you can draw your shoulders back over your hips, block off to one side. We can say goodbye to our bolster for the time being, and we will come forward onto hands and knees. So I'm going to turn so that you can see me from the side. And we'll start with a nice, strong, solid foundation here. So hands are spread out, fingers are wide, and hands are right underneath the shoulder blades. Knees are right underneath the hips. From here we'll take a cat-cow. So as you breathe in, letting the belly drop, chin comes up, tailbone comes up. And then with an exhale, chin tucks in, tailbone tucks under. And letting the back round. And then moving through this cat and cow posture at the speed of your own breath. Not straining. Not trying to push into any range of movement, but just keeping it light, comfortable, easy. If this feels really good to you, you could pause the video and do cat and cow for as long as you like. We're going to move on to thread the needle. So we'll walk our hands close together here. And then inhale, one arm comes up. So big twist, big open chest, big hug for this side of the room. And then exhale, we'll thread this arm down underneath and come down on the shoulder and the side of the head. And this may be a spot where you want a bolster or a cushion or a block. Letting the hips be above the knees. Feeling a nice opening through the back of your shoulder. Maybe bringing your hand up to your sacrum and letting that bring some awareness to the alignment of your hips. So no judgment. If you find you're a little bit torqued one way or another, you can always adjust, realign. Find a spot that's comfortable. Take one more inhale with our arm reaching up towards the ceiling. We'll exhale, come up, big wide hug for that side of the room, and then we will come back to our tabletop, our all fours position with the hands together. And then do the other side. Inhale, big hug for this side of the room. Exhale, arm reaches under. Maybe head comes to a bolster. Maybe the hand coming onto the sacrum. Making any adjustments for alignment. And bringing our attention to the breath, feeling the belly expand. And gently draw in the end of each breath. Take an inhale with arm reaching up, and then as we exhale, hand comes down. Bring ourselves up into our tabletop position. And from here we'll move into a child's pose. So toes can come together, and your knees can either be together or wide apart. And then hips will just sink back onto the heels. And then the head will come down either right to the mat or onto a bolster. And then the arms come out in front. And rather than having really energized arms with the elbows lifting up, we can wind down this practice by letting the arms relax. Letting our rooted hips be an anchor. And then allowing the back to waterfall forward. Head is heavy, connecting with the mat. Arms are relaxed. We'll take another deep breath in this child's pose, and then as we exhale, we can creep our arms over to one side. Maybe reaching one arm a little longer. Really rooting our opposite hip. So both hips stay strongly rooted onto the heels. And as we breathe, we feel the accordion-like expansion of the ribs. And breathing into this expansion. And when that feels like enough, we can walk ourselves back through center and then over to the other side. Starting by anchoring our hips down onto our heels, reaching out through our arms and breathing into the accordion-like expansion of the rib cage. When that feels like enough, we'll come back to center. If you like, you can pause the video here and spend as long as you like in child's pose. But for now, we'll push ourselves up, put our props off to the side, and then whatever way feels easy and comfy, coming onto your back. Into the back with the knees bent. And then we'll straighten out one leg and pull our other knee, opposite knee into the chest. So nice hug in. Attention to the alignment of our hips. Sometimes when we're hugging in on our knee, we tend to hike up that hip. Just let our hips be heavy. Make any adjustments to keep our spine and our pelvis aligned. Next inhale can bring both knees in. We'll give them both a little squeeze, and then we'll trade legs. Bring the other knee in this time. As we hug in with our knee, maybe bringing it towards the outside of the rib cage. Check in with the alignment of our hips. So that we're sure we're not hiking up, twisting. Spine is nice and aligned. And bring both our knees in for one more hug. As an option, and if it feels good for your back and if you're feeling energetic, you can inhale, bring your nose up towards your knees. And then exhale, come down, and then our feet will come down onto the mat. We can take the time to lift our hips up slightly, roll down so that our whole spine feels supported by the mat. We can take our right leg up towards the ceiling and then bring our right ankle
over towards the left knee. From here, we can grab onto, maybe grabbing through onto the shin, maybe grabbing onto the back of the thigh. Another option here is to use a strap and to use that to hold on. So with this one, we're thinking about drawing in on our left knee, gently pressing our right knee away. And while we do that, we'll activate our toes back towards our shin. That lends a little support to our knee. So we exhale, we can let our hips sink heavy onto the mat. And that feels like enough. We'll bring our leg down, maybe windshield wiper a little bit side to side. We'll lift our other leg up towards the ceiling. And then bring ankle onto our knee. And then we'll grab hold of whatever feels good. Maybe the thigh, the shin, or we can use our strap. Drawing in on the right knee, letting the left knee float away from the body, float away from the chest. Keeping the left toes active, drawing back towards the left shin. Give a little support to our knee. So we breathe into this pose, imagining the hips sinking down. Shanti, Shanti. Hips sink down and we continue to breathe. Choosing a depth that's easeful, comfortable. Posture that helps us to open the hips but also helps us to relax. So we want to be able to breathe comfortably, no gritting our teeth. And that feels like enough. We can let go of our strap. Set our feet down. I'm going to roll up and turn the music down a little bit. I'm going to roll back down. From here we're going to take a twist. So we'll eventually have our arms out in a T, but to start with, it might be nice to grab a block or a bolster, and let's twist first to the right. So you can bring your knees in towards your chest one at a time, and then roll them over towards the right. You're bringing a bolster underneath your knees. It can also feel nice to have something in between your knees. If you feel like your knees are kind of pressing together. And then we can spread out the arms, palms facing up, letting both shoulders be heavy. So if our legs are twisted to the right, our left shoulder sinks down heavy into the mat. Spreading wide across the collarbones. And breathing into this pose. Noticing how in the twist we might find that we breathe into the belly, into the sides under the rib cage. Maybe even breathing into the back body. If it's comfortable on your neck, you can bring your gaze away from your knees. So In this case, looking at the open left hand. And that feels like enough. You can bring your gaze towards your knees, bring your hands towards your knees. Pull them all the way up, and then we'll switch our props to the other side. Have them ready for us. We can bring our knees in and let them roll over, being supported by the block or by the bolster. Deciding whether we want anything in between our knees. We can spread our arms out, broadening across the chest, letting both shoulders anchor down into the mat, and letting the palms face up towards the ceiling. Continuing to breathe here, noticing where you feel the inflation of the breath. If it's comfortable on your neck, turning your gaze away from your knees. When that feels like enough, we'll bring our knees back into center. We'll wiggle a little bit side to side. A little bit of windshield wipers. And then we'll roll ourselves up and we will bring ourselves close to the wall for an inversion pose. So there's a couple of options for inversions. If you like shoulder stand and that's easy for you, you can feel free to do that. I like to do a supported bridge pose. So this could be done with the hips, or a supported shoulder stand, I should say, with the hips up on a bolster or maybe up on two blocks, and then the legs going up the wall. So I think the bolster will be enough for me. I'll leave the blocks close by in case I decide I want them. And I'm gonna put the bolster off to the side. So first I'll get my bum next to the wall and my legs up, and then I'll press my feet into the wall and slide the bolster underneath. So sometimes getting close to the wall is the trickiest part. Lots of different breakdancing moves as options to get here. But once you're here with your legs up the wall, maybe this is enough and it feels great, in which case that's all you need. Or if you like, you can press your feet into the wall, lift your pelvis up, and set the block just under your sacrum. Option to have your hands on your tummy. Feel the breath come into the belly. Or to let your arms come out, palms facing up. Moving your props out of the way. Connecting with the breath in this inversion pose. Letting the change of our orientation with our feet up, feet above hips, hips above heart. Letting gravity help return the blood that's in the legs to the heart. All the lymph, all the fluid in the body, getting a chance to find its way home. Our hips are higher than our heart. It also gives our organs a chance to find a new parking spot in the abdominal cavity. Everything gets to press against each other in a slightly different way. Renegotiation of where they all live. Continuing to breathe. Nice easy breath. If you really like legs up the wall, you could pause the video and stay here for 10 or 20 or even 50 breaths. We spend so much time standing up. It's nice to feel something different. And this feels like enough. Bring your feet to the wall so that you can slide out any props. And then we'll scoot away from the wall. And we'll want 2 or more props to try supported fish pose. So you could do supported fish pose with 2 blocks. We'll be lying on our back here with something in between our shoulder blades. So you could have the block in between your shoulder blades and then another block under your head. I think I'm gonna go softer today and have my shoulder blades on either side of the bolster. So it can take a little bit of kind of orienting, a little bit of adjusting to find the right spot. With this lift through the center of your spine, I want to feel like your chest can open up. I want to feel like your shoulder blades can melt down on either side of the bolster. Your pelvis should be far enough off the bolster, or off the block, so that your sacrum can land on the mat. We do so much work with our hands in front of us, where we're kind of a little bit hunched forward, and our hands together in front of us, that it can make the chest a little bit tight. So here with supported fish, we get the opportunity to open the chest up. Breathe into the expansion, the widening across the collarbones. Maybe feel like our shoulders are getting heavier and heavier, melting down towards the mat. So the bolster or the block lifts our heart upwards, and slightly pressing forward on the mediastinum, the space between the lungs where the heart lives. So in this posture, we get a literal reminder to lead with our hearts. This is another posture where you could spend 10, 20 more breaths. Feel free to pause the video and do so. And for us here, we're moving into Savasana. So I'm going to bring my hands to my head, Lift the block away, set it off to the side. Gonna roll off the bolster. And then this, put the bolster off to one side. In this Savasana, we want to have our full spine resting on the mat. If you like, you could put a bolster underneath your knees so that your knees have a slight bend. And that could be a nice way to find a slight tilt in the pelvis so that our lower back doesn't arch up the mat. Support under our knees helps our full spine to find the mat. And a few minutes here in Savasana. This can be a nice time to cover yourself with a blanket or a shawl, or you put on some warm socks. We'll continue to lie here in Shavasana. Letting your feet flop lazily onto their sides. Letting your ankles be loose. Letting your calves sink heavy into the mat. Letting your knees be relaxed. Letting your thighs be relaxed. Maybe feeling both sides of your pelvis widen apart from one another just slightly so they have this space to sink down into the mat. Your spine contact the mat. Feeling your ribs expand with each breath. Belly lifting and falling with each breath. Letting your shoulders move apart from one another just slightly. So they have enough space to sink down into the mat. Widening, pulling out, letting your arms be heavy, your forearms be heavy and relaxed, letting go of any gripping, untangling all of those muscles that do daily tasks. Your fingers curl lightly. Your palms shine up towards the sky. Feeling all the muscles of your neck relax. All the muscles of your jaw, all the little muscles around your ears, your forehead, your temples, letting your head sink a little deeper into the mat for this Shavasana.
Some movement into your fingers, into your toes. Maybe circling your wrists, your ankles. And turning your head gently side to side. Maybe bringing your arms up overhead. Big stretch. And a big yawn. And when you're ready, you can roll your way onto your right-hand side, using your arm as a pillow. And take a moment here to consolidate the practice. Think about how it went, how you felt in your body and your breath. Your thoughts and your feelings. And then without attaching any judgment to it, good or bad, we put this practice behind us. Kiss it goodbye. And then push gently up to a seated position. Bring your hands onto your knees. We'll take a deep inhale here. Then exhale, draw our hands together in front of the heart. I hope you have a great sleep and pleasant dreams. Namaste.